This is Dr. Janardhan Pawar from TC College Baramati. In last lecture, we have discussed the features of an effective business letter. If you want to make your business letter effective, there are certain features that we need to follow. And yesterday, we have discussed about those features in a brief manner. And now in today's lecture, we are going to discuss all those features one by one in a precise manner. I still remember the first feature, that is brevity, we have discussed in a precise manner, and we were about to start second feature, that is clarity. So we are starting with that feature today, and we are here for that particular feature called clarity. Whenever you are there to write a business letter, we need to maintain clarity in terms of what, a number of things. So basically, when you want to write a business letter, try to avoid vague sentences, try to avoid some false sentences, as well as try to avoid ambiguity among the readers. So whenever you want to go for business letter, try to make it in a very simple language, try to make it in a very clear language, as well as you people have to take care one of thing, and that thing is very clear again. Whatever conversational English and understandable English is there, that you need to use in the business letter. Do not use heavy words in business letter, so that reader will not understand. So that sort of care should be taken. And by using this kind of things, by avoiding vague sentences, by avoiding ambiguity, and by avoiding heavy words of English, we can maintain clarity in business letter. Similarly, you can also go for the business letter in a different manner. Then your tone of writing should be very clear. There should not be any sort of ambiguity in your tone also. If you maintain these kind of things, automatically clarity can be maintained. So these are the things which are there in terms of clarity, which we have discussed so far. Moving on to the next about the clarity, try to go for familiar words and familiar style of writing of your business letter. Most of the time, what we do, we go for heavy words which are not familiar with the readers, and if we do so, automatically reader get confused, and he will not respond properly, or he will not understand, or he will not get an idea about the letter. And this is what we need to go for in a simple manner whenever we write this kind of letter to the reader. So this way, if we follow this kind of principles of writing a business letter, automatically we can have a clarity in the business letter also. So as far as clarity is concerned, we need to focus on certain things, and those things are very clear. We have to avoid ambiguity, we have to avoid vague sentences, we have to be very clear in conversational English. Instead of going for heavy words, we use those kind of words which are suitable for the reader, which are understandable for the readers. Similarly, we have to go for such kind of type of font and the use of font which should be used in the business letter. And if we do so, automatically we can be able to understand the business letter. And this is what every writer has to follow this when he or she wants to write a letter or business letter. If we follow, automatically clarity can be maintained. And this is what I want to talk about clarity. Moving on to the second feature of an effective business letter is accuracy. Whenever you write a business letter, that letter should be very much accurate. There should not be compromise with the accuracy. If your letter is accurate, it will create good impact in the mind of reader. This is what accuracy is, the most important aspect of your business letter. So whatever you want to write in a business letter, that should be accurate. If you are providing some statistical data in a business letter, in terms of for example, prices, then number, quantity, then then serial numbers and all, those should be in a very very clear manner. If we write something false, or if you write something wrong, it will create bad impact in the mind of reader, and that will damage the goodwill of the organization. So whenever you are there to write a letter, think about the accuracy and maintain the accuracy, so that you can also maintain the goodwill of the organization. Hence, whatever facts you are mentioning, whatever facts you are writing in the letter, those should be correct up to your knowledge, and this is what it is expected. So this is for the accuracy. If you maintain the accuracy, automatically you can you can enhance the goodwill and the image of the organization in the mind of the reader, and that is expected. So only this much is there for the accuracy is concerned. Moving on to the next feature, that is politeness, which is required for the purpose of making your business letter effective. So as I told you, the person who writes in a business letter has to maintain the politeness. Somebody said like that, English is a gentleman's language, so we have to be prove this by using the words in a different manner. So whenever you are there to write a business letter, you need to maintain politeness. You have to show the courtesy to the reader. Similarly, you have to maintain the courtesy also. If you are showing politeness, if you are showing humbleness, that is okay with the reader. And this is what I told you yesterday. You people have to maintain you attitude. You attitudes means what? You people have to keep yourself in the place of reader and write the letter. So whatever reader is expecting, that should be clearly mentioned, clearly drafted, clearly the part of your business letter. And when we try to maintain that, it shows how humble you are, how polite you are. And by showing politeness, we can automatically attracting the customer, attracting the person who is reading the business letter. So politeness is very much important whenever we write business letter, or whenever we write any sort of letter. Forget about business letter. So it is not only for the business letter, in our day-to-day life also. If we want to write a letter to someone else, or to our parents, or to any person in our life, their politeness is must, or their politeness is the one of the important aspect of our business letter. So politeness is a key word in business letter. Therefore it should be courteously written. It should be include the expressions such as thanks, I regret, please, my pleasure. So whatever word you are using in your business letter, those words should reflect the politeness, those words should reflect the humbleness. And how it can be reflected? It can be reflected by using such kind of words which shows how polite you are. Then letter of request or complaint should avoid unpleasant and rude expressions. Whenever you want to write a business letter, take care of this thing. Do not go for rude word, as well as do not show some unpleasant words. Do not use abusing words in the business letter. If you are going for such kind of word, it shows how rude you are, how you guys are not good in writing business letters and all. So this is what, whenever you are there to write a business letter, try to go for politeness. At the same time, try to maintain the courtesy with the reader, and that is expected. If you maintain the courtesy with the reader, automatically you can maintain the politeness. So only this much is there for the politeness that I wanted to sing. Next one is consideration of the addressee. So here we are talking about the consideration which are taken place as far as address is concerned. So politeness is a key word in a business letter, as we guys have discussed so far. So this politeness as well as consideration is little bit similar, and we are going to talk about this too. So when it comes to the consideration of the addressee means the person who is receiving the letter, to whom we are writing this letter. That particular person is called as addressee. Keep in view the type of the addressee or the receiver. So whenever you are there to write a letter, so first consideration should be there in the mind of you guys, that is the person who is going to receive the letter. For example, I am writing this letter to my students, so you all are the addressee. So by keeping in the mind, by keeping address in the mind, I have to think about the matter of the business letter. Suppose I am writing this letter to the banks, then I have to keep banks in the mind as an addressee. Similarly, if I am writing letter to the government organizations or government authority, then government authority is an addressee, and that I have to keep in my mind while writing the letter. So take into consideration the nature, the post, and also the mental level of the receiver, so that the reader can read it with ease. So one thing that I want to tell you about the consideration of the addressee: if you are perfect with the addressee, if you understood your addressee very well, accordingly we have to write a business letter. Suppose we don't understand, suppose we are unable to understand the addressee, in that case we won't write business letter properly. So what is the first thing? You need to understand your addressee first. You need to understand what sort of addressee is that, what sort of mental level of addressee is there, what sort of designation that addressee is having and all. So if you understand each and every aspect of the addressee, automatically you can consider him while writing letter. Suppose I'm writing a letter to the government authority, so I need to understand what sort of designation that particular person is having, then what sort of mentality that particular person is having. So I have to understand, and accordingly I have to make a draft of the business letter. Suppose you are writing a letter to your boss, so you need to understand the mentality of your boss. Similarly, you need to understand the designation of your boss, you need to understand the behavior of your boss, and then only you can go for making a draft of your letter. So consideration of the address is very much important. If you understand your addressee, then it is very simple for you guys to make a draft of your business letter, and this is expected here. And this much is there for the consideration of the addressee as far as consideration of the addressee is concerned. Then next one is what? Use of jargons. This one is a little bit different concept that I want to tell you here. In case of use of jargons, jargon is a little bit technical term that I want to tell you. So here in case of jargons, sometimes we use some technical symbols, technical terms which are not aware with the reader. So what sort of care is expected to be taken? It is very simple. Whenever you are there to use such kind of jargons, so don't forget that whatever jargons you are using, those are understandable to the reader or not. Whether the reader is familiar with the jargons or not, that you people have to find out. Suppose I use some certain jargons which are not familiar with the reader, in that case those things are not important, those things are not suitable with the reader. So that sort of care should be taken. So use those kind of jargons which are familiar with the reader and which a reader can understand in a very very good manner. So that sort of care should be taken. And this one is the most important aspect, because mostly what happen, we try to use some different jargons which are not suitable for, which are not understandable for the reader. And if we do so, automatically it will create some confusion, it will create some ambiguity in the mind of reader, and that we need to take care at the time of writing business letter. And that is what you people have to use such kind of jargons which are familiar with we all and understandable for we all, and that is expected. So this is for use of jargons, and I hope you guys have understood. Now yesterday only we guys have discussed about you attitude in a very precise manner. There is no need to talk about this once again, but once again I repeat those things whatever we guys have seen today, or sorry, yesterday. So in case of this, in case of you attitude, as I told you, you attitude means what? You people have to means what? A reader. We need to think about the reader. We should be little bit, or not little bit, we should be readers oriented, reader centric. So if you are there as a writer of a business letter, you need to keep yourself in the place of a reader, and accordingly people have to make a draft of business letter. And if you do so, it comes under the category of you attitude. It shows your attitude about the reader. So we need to change our attitude, and that attitude should be suitable for the reader, and that is expected. So what can be done as far as you attitude is concerned, that I'm going to tell you. Focus on the recipient needs. So whenever you are there to write a business letter, you need to think about the recipient, means what? The addressee's needs, what sort of needs he or she is having. Accordingly we need to make a draft. Similarly, we have to think about the purposes of the business letter according to the reader. So if we understand the purposes of letter of the reader, then we can write in a very good manner, or interest instead of your own. So while writing a business letter, do not think about your own interest. So we need to think about the interest of the reader. If we think about the interest of the writer, then there is no use. So whatever interest reader is having in the letter, that should be reflected. And this is what letter should be written in this particular manner. Then recipient oriented style is called as you attitude. As I told you earlier, here we have to talk about, we should be recipient oriented, we should be recipient centric style. And if we maintain this particular style, automatically we can maintain that attitude which is called as you attitude. Use more you and yours interest instead of I, me, mine, us, our, ours. So while making a draft, there should be a proper use of words in your letter, which shows how you are uh, recipient oriented or recipient centric. If you use this kind of word, yourself, it shows how you are recipient oriented or recipient centric. If you go for words like I, me, mine, us, ours, yours, it shows how you are writer centric. So instead of using these kind of words, you guys have to use those words which are recipient centric, which are recipient oriented, and by using these words you can show that how you have maintained you attitude in the business letter. So only this much is there for you attitude. And in this particular part of video, we guys have discussed about features of making our business letter effective, or features of an effective business letter. If we want to make our business letter effective, these are the features which we need to follow, and by following these features we can make our business letter effective. So my dear students, we have done with this features of an effective letter. I hope you guys have understood. If you have any doubt or query or difficulty as such, you can ask me your difficulty, query and doubt by using this online mode. Till then, thank you very much and stay tuned.